Right at this moment, as you read these words, millions of men are being systematically drained, emptied, destroyed from within. They work 70 hours a week. They fund dreams that aren't their own. They pay bills they didn't create. And they die slowly, believing this is love. They call it a relationship. They call it a partnership. They call it family. But it's financial and emotional execution in slow motion. And you're probably one of them. Society sold you a lie embedded in every romantic movie, every therapist's advice, every inspirational relationship post. They told you that true love is unconditional, that a high-value woman seeks your character, your essence, who you are inside. That demonstrating financial generosity strengthens bonds. That being a provider is noble, romantic, masculine, a lie. The truth no one tells you, the reality the entire system conspires to hide from you, is brutal and inescapable. Every woman, without exception, evaluates you as an investment, not as a person, as an asset, as a source of resources. Evolutionarily, biologically, unconsciously, she is constantly calculating if you can provide, protect, maintain. Your bank account speaks louder than your words. Your net worth weighs more than your character. And every gesture of generosity you believe to be love is being interpreted as weakness, as a green light for extraction, as an invitation to exploitation. This goes against everything you've been taught, against every narrative you've consumed since childhood. And that's exactly why you're trapped and don't even realize it. Meet Mark, software engineer, 42 years old, successful. Solid net worth, built over 2 decades of disciplined work. He met Anna at a corporate event. She was 35, stunning, intelligent. She presented herself as an ambitious entrepreneur with a vision for the future. She talked about financial independence, about building something meaningful, about a partnership of equals. Mark fell in love with the image. The first 6 months were perfect. Anna was affectionate. She constantly praised the security he provided, the stability, the way he made her feel protected. Mark interpreted this as validation of his worth as a man, as confirmation that he was doing everything right. He remembered the nights he came home late from work, and she waited for him with dinner ready. The messages she sent during the day saying how lucky she felt, the way she introduced him to friends as the most incredible man she had ever met. Every word was nectar that fed his ego. Every gesture of admiration confirmed that all the effort to build his career had been worth it. Finally, there was someone who recognized his value. But there were signs Mark chose to ignore. The way Anna always suggested specific restaurants on weekends. She never asked how much it cost. She just assumed he would pay. The way she casually mentioned expensive items she would like to have. Not exactly asking, just planting seeds, testing the waters. The first request came in the 7th month. Anna had a business idea, an online store for sustainable products. She just needed initial capital, $15,000 to start. Mark hesitated for 3 seconds. Anna touched his arm, said she believed they were a team, that she would make it take off, that when it worked, it would be theirs. Mark transferred the money. That night, as he confirmed the transfer on the banking app, Mark felt a pang in his stomach. An inner voice whispered that something was wrong, but he silenced that voice. After all, relationships were about trust, about mutual support, about investing in each other's success. He was being a partner. He was being the man she deserved. The business never took off. 2 months later, Anna needed a new car. Hers was old, unreliable. How was she going to manage the business without adequate transportation? Mark financed an imported SUV. $40,000. Anna cried with gratitude, said he was the best man she had ever met. They made love that night. Mark slept believing he was building a shared future. They married the following year. Anna convinced Mark to renovate her parents' house. They were elderly. They needed accessibility. It was a moral obligation. Mark spent $35,000 on the renovation. Anna called him the son her parents never had. The pattern solidified. Every 6 months, a new need emerged. An emergency, an investment, an opportunity that couldn't be missed. Mark worked longer hours, took on extra projects, neglected friends who began to question Anna's lifestyle, the lack of reciprocity, the fact that her business consumed resources but never generated a return. His best friend, Richard, tried to warn him at a barbecue. "Dude, are you okay? You look exhausted. And this story about Anna's business, has it made any money back yet?" Mark became defensive. "You don't understand, Richard. Building a business takes time. Anna is working hard, and she supports me in other ways." Richard looked him in the eye and said, "Mark, I've known you for 20 years. You're not the same anymore. When was the last time you played soccer with us? That you went out without having to ask permission?" Mark didn't answer. He just changed the subject. That was the last time he spoke to Richard for months. Mark ignored the signs. 8 years later, he was living in a rented apartment, in debt. His net worth had evaporated. Anna had filed for divorce, claiming emotional abandonment. She said he worked too much, that he was never present, that he prioritized his career over family. The judge granted her the house Mark had bought, the car he had financed, 50% of the remaining assets, lifelong alimony. She controlled access to the children through every late payment. Mark lost everything: his identity as a successful provider, his financial autonomy, regular access to his own children, his mental health, and the most devastating illusion of all, that he was loved. He was not loved. He was exploited, a source of resources methodically siphoned until total exhaustion. And when there was nothing left to extract, he was discarded with a victim narrative that the legal system fully validated. On the first night in the rented apartment, Mark sat on the cold floor. He had no furniture yet, just a few boxes with clothes and documents. He looked around the empty space and finally allowed the truth to hit him. 20 years of work, hundreds of thousands in net worth, all evaporated. And worse than the financial loss was the loss of meaning. He had built his entire identity around being a provider, around being the man who took care, who solved problems, who supported. Without that, who was he? The answer came in the form of a sob he couldn't hold back. Nobody. He was nobody. It was over. You're thinking Mark was naive, that you would be different, that you would know how to recognize the signs. But that's exactly what every victim thinks before becoming a statistic. The trap doesn't work by announcing it's a trap. It works by looking like love, feeling like a partnership, disguised as joint construction. And you're in it now. This isn't Bitterman's conspiracy theory. It's an observable, documented, repeated pattern in millions of relationships right now. The phenomenon has a name: female value siphoning. It's not conscious. It's not maliciously planned. It's an evolutionary instinct operating through unconscious behavior. Women are biologically programmed to constantly test the quality of the provider, to extract resources, to ensure access to the best possible assets for her and potential offspring. Your role in this ancient script is to bleed resources until you have nothing left to give. The pattern always starts the same way: small requests, subtle, reasonable. An expensive dinner here, a special gift there. She tests your willingness to provide, your reaction when she pushes boundaries. If you give in without resistance, she registers weak frame, man who seeks validation through provision, suitable target for progressive extraction. Every concession is interpreted as confirmation that you can be exploited further. The tactics are predictable, systematic, universal. First tactic: the convenient shared dream. She proposes a life project that requires your investment, but primarily benefits her. Starting a business she will manage. Buying a house in her name for financing reasons. Investing in her education so she can contribute later. Later never comes. The business consumes capital without return. The house becomes hers in the divorce. The education turns into an argument for her to deserve higher alimony, because now she has qualifications you financed. You built the tools of your own destruction. Second tactic: the modern chivalry test. She expects you to pay for everything, observes your reaction to every refusal. On the third date, she forgets her wallet. On the 10th, she suggests a restaurant beyond your budget. On the 20th, she stops offering to split anything. You pay because society programmed you that a real man provides. That refusing is petty. that demonstrating financial generosity is proof of genuine interest. But for her, every payment without resistance confirms he is available for exploitation. Test passed. Intensify extraction. The bill always goes up. Third tactic, the recurring unexpected crisis. Her car breaks down every month. She has an urgent debt she can't cover. A dental problem that needs immediate attention. A family emergency that requires your immediate financial intervention. You solve it because you want to be a hero, because you believe a relationship is about mutual support. But the crises are always hers. Emergencies are always financed by you. And reciprocity never materializes because the next crisis arises before you even consider asking for anything. And you notice a pattern. Her crises always happen at strategic moments, after you receive a bonus at work, when you mention you're saving for something personal. The week after, you refused a previous request. Is it a coincidence? Or is it a calculated test to measure how far you can be pushed? You suspect. But questioning would be accusing her of manipulation. And men don't accuse, men provide. Silently, without questioning, until there's nothing left. The pattern is a trap. Fourth tactic, the devaluation of non-monetary effort. You spend the weekend renovating her house. She complains you didn't take her out to dinner as a reward. You dedicate hours helping with her problem. She minimizes it because you didn't buy the gift she wanted. Your time has no value. Your energy doesn't count. Your emotional support is invisible. Only tangible financial contribution registers as legitimate effort. Everything else is an obligation you should fulfill silently, without expectation of recognition. You work, she discards. Fifth tactic, conditional affection exchange. After you refuse to buy an expensive item, she becomes cold, avoids physical contact. Intimacy is withdrawn as punishment. Affection returns when you give in. Validation is granted when you provide. Your access to her affection is controlled by your willingness to open your wallet. This is not love. It's emotional prostitution disguised as a relationship. You are buying temporary access to her body and attention with every bank transfer. She knows exactly what she's doing. Sixth tactic, progressive financial isolation. She encourages you to concentrate resources only on her and the family, criticizes time with friends, questions personal investments, suggests money should be for us. Hobbies are selfishness. Friendships are a distraction. Any allocation of resources that doesn't directly benefit her is attacked as a lack of commitment. Gradually, you disconnect from everything that gave you an identity beyond provider. Your world shrinks until only she and her endless demands exist. You're trapped and don't even realize it. Seventh tactic, the rescue trap. She loses her job, expects you to cover all expenses indefinitely, doesn't actively seek new income. There's always a reason. The market is tough. She needs time to find something suitable. She's emotionally exhausted. Meanwhile, you work double shifts, sustaining a lifestyle she doesn't contribute to maintaining. Months turn into years. Dependence solidifies. And when you finally question it, she accuses you of not supporting her in difficult times, of being insensitive, of proving you never truly loved her. It's always your fault. Are you recognizing yourself in each tactic? Are you seeing your current relationship clearly for the first time? Or are you rationalizing that your situation is different? That she's not like that? That you have something special? This rationalization is exactly how the pattern perpetuates itself. Denial is siphoning's most effective weapon. While you deny, she extracts. And now comes the part that will truly destroy you. The entire system conspires to keep you in this prison. It's not an accident. It's not a failure. It's intentional design. Every social institution you trust is calibrated to ensure you keep bleeding resources until you have nothing left. First, the legal system of divorce and alimony. It was built under the narrative of protecting vulnerable women in an era when they didn't work. That era is over. Women have equal access to education and the job market. But the legal structure remains. Why? Because it benefits lawyers. It benefits the state, which transfers social welfare responsibility from the government to individual men. It benefits women who have discovered that divorce can be more lucrative than work. Practical consequence: A man with 20 years of net worth sees 50% or more handed over to his ex-wife, even if he built everything before marriage, even if she contributed minimally, and he is still obligated to pay lifelong alimony because she got used to a standard of living he provided. You work 3 decades, she stays married for 5 years, she gets half forever. The legal system calls this justice. You are destroyed, and they call it equity. Second, the couple's therapy industry and the discourse of empathy. Therapists, especially those with an academic feminist bias, operate under a framework that automatically validates female complaints. She says, "You're not emotionally present." The therapist confirms that men have difficulty with vulnerability. She says, "You work too much." The therapist confirms that men confuse material provision with love. She says she doesn't feel prioritized. The therapist suggests you invest more in the relationship. Investing more means giving up more resources. Working less means earning less, which eventually means not being able to sustain her lifestyle. It's a no-win trap. Couples therapy, in 90% of cases, is a conditioning process to make you progressively cede control while paying $150 an hour for the privilege of being reprogrammed. The system doesn't want you to know this. Third, mass media and romantic pop culture. Every movie, every series, every song, every commercial hammers the same message. A real man provides. A man of value buys. The demonstration of love is materialized through expensive gifts, extravagant trips, financial solutions to her problems. The male protagonist saves the heroine from debt, buys a house, buys jewelry, proves love through financial sacrifice. You have been programmed since childhood to associate your worth as a man with your ability to spend on a woman, to feel inadequate if you don't fulfill this role, to feel guilty if you hesitate to provide, to feel shame if you question reciprocity. Media has brainwashed you to ensure you are a docile provider who never questions extraction, and it worked perfectly. Think of the last 10 romantic movies you watched. In all of them, the man proves love through a grand gesture that costs money, buys a surprise plane ticket, rents an impossible apartment in New York, buys an engagement ring that costs 3 months' salary, because De Beers convinced entire generations that love is measured in carats. The romantic hero is always the one who sacrifices financially, who gives up stability for her, who gives up a professional opportunity to follow her. And you have absorbed this programming completely. Every frame, every scene, every romantic song about sacrificing everything for love. Now, this programming is operating in you unconsciously, dictating your choices, justifying your exploitation. So what do? The system is against you. Female biology is against you. Your own social programming is against you. You are surrounded. A war zone where you didn't even realize you were fighting. And you lost ground every day for years without even recognizing you were under attack. Some will rationalize that this is an exaggeration, that not all women are like this. And that's why they remain trapped. Because an exception does not invalidate a pattern. Because your individual experience does not cancel statistical reality. Because while you seek an exception, you ignore the rule that is destroying you right now. Others will say this is misogyny, that blaming women is an evasion of male responsibility. But recognizing power dynamics is not blame. It's awareness. You don't blame a predator for hunting. You recognize that a predator hunts and take defensive measures. Denying that siphoning exists because it sounds offensive is to ensure you continue to be a victim while performing moral virtue. And you will do nothing. You will finish this text. You will feel discomfort. You will recognize some patterns. And you will rationalize that your situation is different, that you are in control, that this doesn't apply. You will go back to a relationship where you finance a lifestyle she doesn't contribute to maintaining. You will continue to give in to requests because you want to avoid conflict. You will work overtime to cover expenses that increase proportionally to your income. And you will wake up at 55, divorced, financially ruined, without regular access to your children, paying alimony for a woman who is already with the next provider, living in a small apartment while she lives in the house you bought. And you will finally understand that every word here was true, but it will be too late. Ignoring this pattern means the gradual and complete erosion of your identity. You cease to be a man with purpose and become an exhausted provider, an ATM with legs, a human utility whose function is to finance another person's life. Your passion dies, your dreams shrink, your autonomy disappears. You exist only to work and transfer the result of that work to a bank account you don't control. The consequences are financial ruin, total loss of self-respect, alienation from friends you abandoned because she said they were a bad influence, development of chronic anxiety because you never have financial security no matter how much you earn, depression because you know deep down you are trapped but can't admit it, and in the end, loss of access to your own children used as a control tool through a legal system that treats you as an ATM forced to function under threat of imprisonment. And there are consequences you don't see yet, but are accumulating. Your physical health deteriorates. High blood pressure because you carry the constant stress of never being able to provide enough. Insomnia because you wake up at 3 in the morning thinking about how you will pay the next bill. Body aches because chronic tension manifests physically. You age faster. You look 10 years older than men your age who maintained autonomy. Your body is literally consuming itself to maintain a system that is destroying you. And there is loss of potential, that project you wanted to develop, that business you wanted to start, that career change that could triple your income. You never did it because you didn't have the capital available, because every resource was siphoned before you could invest in yourself. You could be a millionaire now. You could have built something significant. But every opportunity was sacrificed on the altar of infinite provision. And now it's too late to recover those lost years. This is what's at stake. You have one life, a single existence. The clock is ticking. You are aging. Every day that passes is a day lost forever. How much time will you waste financing someone else's life while your own life rots? How much wealth will you transfer before you wake up? How many years will you sacrifice before realizing that sacrifice is not valued? It is exploited. One day, time runs out. The life of the man who ignores this truth is a gilded cage that crumbles to dust. He lives decades in comfortable denial, believes that hard work will be rewarded with loyalty, that generous provision guarantees lasting love, that sacrifice will buy gratitude, and wakes up in the end with nothing. No wealth, no family, no identity, just emotional and financial debt that he will carry until he dies. The cost of waking up is real. It's brutal. It's terrifying. You could lose half your assets in a divorce. You could lose the house. You could lose daily access to your children and have to fight for alternating weekends while paying alimony that finances her life with a new partner. You could lose social reputation because she will control the narrative and paint you as the villain. You could lose years rebuilding your life from scratch. But this pain is temporary and leads to liberation. The alternative is a slow death. It's waking up every day for decades knowing you're trapped, working a job you hate to support a lifestyle you didn't choose, giving in to demands because you learned that resistance causes greater conflict than sacrifice, dying inside while performing happiness for the outside world. It's living as an empty shell, busy but not alive, functioning but not existing. You know men like this. You see them in the office, dull eyes, slumped shoulders, conversations about how many years until retirement. They are not living. They are serving a sentence. They wake up, they work, they transfer money, they sleep, repeat. There is no joy, there is no purpose. Just perpetual obligation that they accepted as inevitable destiny. And you are heading straight for that future, unless you choose differently now. So here's what you do. First action, document everything and evaluate coldly. Start today. Create a spreadsheet. Meticulously record every financial request, every expensive gift, every contribution of yours versus hers. Note dates, amounts, context. Do this for 3 months without saying anything to her. This documentation serves 2 purposes. First, it forces you to face a quantified reality you've been avoiding. Numbers don't lie. Second, if you eventually decide to leave, this documentation is evidence that legally protects you. Divorce lawyers use your own words and financial records against you. Having your own detailed documentation is essential defense. Second, reaffirm your financial frame. Establish a strict personal budget. Declare it. When she asks for something that exceeds your budget or that you don't consider a priority, say exactly that. No, that's not in my budget right now. Or, I don't see the value in that at this moment. Don't justify yourself. Don't explain. Don't argue. Justification is weakness that she will interpret as an opening for negotiation. A strong frame is a statement of a boundary without defense. She will test it. She will accuse you of being petty. She will withdraw affection. She will make a scene. Hold your ground. Calm silence is more powerful than 1,000 defensive words. Third, invest in yourself first, before. Considering any request from her, set aside time and money for your own development. Gym, hobbies, courses, personal financial investments, male friendships. If she questions it, say, "This is a priority for me. It's not negotiable." A man who doesn't invest in himself has nothing to offer except financial resources. And a man who only offers financial resources is disposable. Paradoxically, you only become valuable to her when you demonstrate that you don't need her to have a complete life. Start small. Sign up for the gym tomorrow. Don't ask permission. Don't justify. Just do it. Schedule that barbecue with friends you've been canceling for months. Buy that online course you want to take. Open a separate investment account and start depositing 15% of your income before thinking about any other expense. These are not acts of selfishness. They are acts of survival. You are rebuilding an identity that has been systematically dismantled. Every action in this direction is a declaration of independence, and every declaration strengthens you for the next. Fourth, create and maintain clear boundaries. When she tests you with irrational requests or emotional manipulation, respond with a calm and firm statement. Example, she says, "You never take me to expensive places." You respond, "I value quality time, not the cost of the place." If you're not happy with that, it's your choice. Don't defend, don't justify. Simply state the boundary and let her decide if she accepts it. A real high-value woman respects boundaries. A woman who is siphoning value attacks boundaries, because boundaries block extraction. Fifth, develop sources of masculine validation. Reconnect with male friends. Invest in your career for your own satisfaction, not to support her lifestyle. Your validation should come from your own life and purpose, not from female approval, not from your ability to provide for her. A man who seeks validation through provision has already lost. A man who has internal validation through his own purpose is unshakable. And ironically, it is this man who attracts genuine respect. Sixth, prepare a strategic exit. If the siphoning pattern persists despite established boundaries, you have your answer. She is not interested in a balanced relationship. She is interested in extraction. Start planning an exit. Consult a family law attorney. Discreetly. Understand your rights. Protect assets. Move resources to accounts she cannot access. Document everything. A relationship can be saved if both want to save it. But if only you want to build a real partnership while she wants to maintain siphoning, you need an evacuation plan. And you need to execute it before she executes first, leaving you in the worst possible position. Seventh, the inner switch of abundance. This is the most important action. Change your fundamental mindset from "I need her to be happy" to "I am a complete and abundant man, and a relationship is an addition to my life, not its totality." A woman senses this change. She notices when you stop being a desperate supplicant and become a man with options and his own purpose. This internal mindset shift is what makes all other actions possible. Without it, you will execute actions mechanically while internally still operating from a position of scarcity and fear of loss. With it, you transform from a passive provider into a man who chooses consciously and is chosen for his intrinsic value, not for his bank account. These actions are not theory. They are an arsenal of combat. You are at war for your autonomy, for your life, for your future. The enemy is not an individual woman. It is the siphoning pattern that operates through her unconsciously. It is the system that incentivizes and protects extraction. It is your own programming that conditioned you to accept exploitation as love. But here is the truth that sets you free. You don't need her. You think you need her because society convinced you that a man without a woman is incomplete. But you were complete before her, and you will be complete after. She didn't complete you. She consumed you. And you confused consumption with connection, because you were taught that sacrifice is proof of love. Sacrifice is not love. It is fuel for exploitation. There are two types of men reading this right now. The first type will rationalize, will say this doesn't apply, that his relationship is different, that she's not like that, will feel discomfort and suppress it because confronting reality is too painful, will go back to a life where he finances her dreams while abandoning his own, will work to exhaustion to maintain the standard of living she demands, will give in to every test because he wants to avoid conflict, and in 10 years he will wake up divorced, ruined, alienated from his children, paying lifelong alimony. He will wonder where he lost control. He will finally understand that he never had control, that he was always heading for this destruction from the first request he yielded to without setting a boundary. Mark is that man 10 years from now, an empty shell living in a rented apartment, working to pay alimony for a woman who lives in the house he bought, with the man she is dating using the money he sends, visiting his children on alternating weekends while another man raises them daily. This is the fate of the man who ignores the pattern: death in life, an existence devoid of purpose or autonomy, biological functioning masking total existential emptiness. One day you will be that man, unless you choose differently now. The second type of man will feel the same discomfort, but he will sit with it. He will recognize patterns he has avoided seeing. He will admit that he is bleeding resources without real reciprocity. He will face the brutal truth that his current relationship is not a partnership. It is extraction disguised as romance. And he will make the most difficult and most important decision of his life. E will set boundaries. He will reaffirm his frame. He will prioritize his own development. He will prepare an exit if necessary. This man will face temporary hell. She will test boundaries more aggressively. She will accuse him of changing, of selfishness, of no longer being the man she married. The social system will pressure him to return to conformity. Well-meaning friends will suggest he is being extreme. The therapist will say he is afraid of intimacy, but he will stand firm. And one of two things will happen. Either she will realize he is no longer a source of unlimited extraction and will leave looking for the next provider. In that case, he loses a relationship but saves his life. He regains autonomy, rebuilds his wealth, rediscovers his purpose, and eventually finds a partner who respects boundaries and seeks real mutual building. Or she will realize that her behavior was pushing away a man of value and will genuinely change. In that case, the relationship transforms into a real partnership based on mutual respect, not unilateral exploitation. She contributes, she respects boundaries, she values beyond financial provision, and they build something sustainable. Both results are a victory. Losing a toxic relationship is a gain. Transforming a relationship through boundaries is a gain. The only defeat is to remain trapped, to keep giving in, to keep financing your own destruction while calling it love. You have one life. The clock is ticking. You are aging. Every year that passes is a year you never get back. How much time will you spend trapped before choosing freedom? How many resources will you transfer before protecting your wealth? How much of your identity will you sacrifice before reaffirming who you are? The choice is yours. And you know what you need to do. You felt it in your gut throughout this text. You recognized patterns you've denied. You saw the future that awaits you if you don't change course. The question was never whether you know. The question has always been whether you have the courage to act. Some men do, and they rebuild their lives with integrity. They regain autonomy. They rediscover purpose. They create relationships based on real respect. They become an example to their children of a man with a strong frame. They live free. Others don't, and they die slowly in a prison they themselves keep locked, working, yielding, providing, emptying, until nothing is left except the obligation to keep providing even after everything is gone. You know which man you are. You always have. The question is whether you will finally admit it and act accordingly, or if you will continue performing comfortable ignorance until it's too late. Mark didn't act, and he lost everything. Your story doesn't have to end that way, but it will end that way if you don't choose differently. Today, now, at this moment, the choice is yours, and it always has been.